how immediate will the effects of the tariffs be? Will China be changing its source of soybeans? Will the tariffs affect them immediately?
Well, you've seen already a little bit of a market pullback today in that there is still some room to negotiations. This isn't necessarily something that's happening tomorrow, but this is the day that agriculture has been dreading. There's always been a feeling that Donald Trump's protectionist stances would eventually drag in agriculture. And as you noted, soybeans are incredibly dependent on China exports. And so you don't just make up for a crisis like this overnight. Now, China, of course, is very dependent on U.S. soybeans as well, but they do have options. Brazil and Argentina could sell more of their crop to China, which would then lead to the U.S. to have to seek out other markets. I've already been talking with some analysts and some trade groups today saying they've been looking for other places to sell the U.S. crop, but there's just no other market like China. This is a huge blow for those exporters.
Alan, talk a little bit more about options China might have, because as I understood it, particularly in Argentina, there were some weather problems and soybean production was actually down. So wouldn't this ultimately mean that Chinese people have to pay more for food?
Well, it could lead to Chinese food inflation, but note that Argentina isn't the big story. Brazil is. And even though Brazil has had some weather issues as well, you know, they have a lot of land that they can devote to soybeans if they want to. This plays itself out over the course of months. China, of course, has reserves that can be drawn down upon. The global marketplace would adjust to this, but in the short term, indeed, you would see a premium for Brazil soybeans. You would see a decline in U.S. soybean prices while this market sorts itself out.
So, Alan, as we all know, these tariffs have not gone into effect yet. There's 60 days in the United States. We're not sure in China. There's some delay on it. Is it having real effect on both the prices currently, spot prices, as well as future prices right now for soybeans?
Well, what it's done is it's thrown spring planting into chaos. The ironic joke in ag circles right now is that last week the USDA released a forecast saying that this year soybean acreage was going to top corn for the first time in 35 years. Well, that's all in doubt now. Farmers just don't know what to plant.
Well, does that mean that also farmers will start diversifying away from soybeans, say, into corn again and, say, wheat and other grains?
It depends on where you are in the country. I mean, if you're in the plains, if you're in the Dakotas, if you're in Kansas or Oklahoma, places where people grow wheat or corn or cotton or have some examples, some things that they can do, yeah, it's a difference there. But if you're in the I states, if you're in Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, God pretty much told you you're going to grow corn or soybeans because of the weather and the soil that you have. You can switch some to corn, but that's a depressed market that's facing tariffs as well. So you just don't have any good options in that part of the country.